Hello and welcome back, UPSC aspirants. You're tuning in to a highly focused explainer from Rungta IAS Academy. Today, we're unpacking a really crucial recent Supreme Court directive. It sits right at that critical intersection of GS Paper 3 Environment and GS Paper 2 Governance. Let's get straight into it.
So here's the big analytical question we need to ask ourselves right off the bat. Can extraordinary legal immunity actually save India's fragile ecosystems from what the Supreme Court bluntly calls superior firepower? You see, we're looking at a deeply severe, escalating conflict right in the heart of central India. We literally have environmental preservation violently clashing with a completely lawless sand mining mafia.
Okay, let's dive into the context here. We are looking at the National Chambal Gharial Sanctuary. That's Chambal Gharial. This is an incredibly fragile, ecologically sensitive habitat, and it's spread right across Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan. But right now, this critical sanctuary is facing absolute, rampant destruction, all driven by relentless, illegal sand extraction. The ecosystem is quite literally being dug out from under itself. And tragically, this ecological destruction is exacting a very heavy human toll. We really must take a moment to formally honor the supreme sacrifice of two incredibly brave frontline workers. First, Harikash Gurjar, that's Harikash Gurjar, a forest guard who was brutally crushed under a truck by sand miners in the Morena district of Madhya Pradesh just recently on April 8th. And then we have Jitendra Singh Shekhawat, another dedicated forest guard stationed in Dholpur district, Rajasthan. He was run over while simply trying to stop these miners' vehicles. Aspirants, listen carefully. Citing these specific, tragic examples will add immense weight, substance, and, frankly, reality to your mains answers on environmental governance. Now, what's exceptionally interesting here is the Supreme Court's incredibly sharp language regarding these incidents. The court didn't mince words. They observed that the apathy shown by the states absolutely reeks of tacit connivance and complete helplessness in the face of the miners' superior firepower and utter lawlessness. In fact, a deeply frustrated apex court had even warned earlier that it would literally order the deployment of paramilitary forces in the Chambal area if these states didn't finally take concrete measures. That shows you the absolute gravity of the situation. And this, right here, brings us to the core legal remedy proposed by the bench of Justices Vikram Nath and Sandeep Mehta. The Supreme Court directed UP, MP, and Rajasthan to seriously consider notifying prosecution immunity for their forest guards. And this is under Section 218, subsection 3 of the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, or the BNSS. Guys, this is an absolute game changer. What it essentially means is that forest guards who take bona fide, good faith actions against these heavily armed miners in the line of duty, they would have immunity almost exactly like the armed forces. They shouldn't have to hesitate to protect the forest simply because they fear facing criminal prosecution themselves later on. And look at how brilliantly this illustrates the overlap of GS2 and GS3 for your syllabus. The court didn't just throw out a polite suggestion. They invoked their extraordinary constitutional powers. These directions were passed explicitly under Article 142 of the Constitution to do complete justice and to strictly ensure statutory safeguards in the Chambal region. This is a classic prime example of judicial intervention, stepping in exactly where the state administrative machinery has completely stalled out. But hold on, the order by Justice Mehta isn't just about legal immunity alone. It actually lays out a holistic, multi-pronged administrative directive. First up, states must immediately augment their field-level enforcement officers to ensure far better patrolling. Second, they absolutely have to complete the recruitment process and fill all existing vacancies within a single year. No more dragging their feet. Third, they must establish carpet surveillance of the protected areas using CCTV cameras and live streaming. And finally, this surveillance installation has to be executed on a literal war footing. Chief secretaries are officially mandated to file compliance reports directly to the court. It is a full-blown administrative overhaul. So here's the absolute crucial takeaway for you. How do you synthesize this explainer into your actual exam answers? Let me give you a highly effective mains application strategy. Number 1, use the Chambal Sanctuary crisis as your primary go-to case study for development versus ecology and internal security challenges. Number 2, cite the BNSS Section 218.3 directive as a forward-looking framework for empowering and protecting our frontline environmental workers. And number 3, quote Article 142 to perfectly, definitively illustrate proactive judicial intervention during an acute environmental crisis. If you structure your answers like this, you're going to score very, very well. All right, to wrap up today's session, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought. especially for those of you gearing up for the UPSC interview round. Will granting armed forces-level immunity to forest guards become the definitive blueprint for protecting all of India's critically endangered habitats? I want you to really think about the long-term governance implications here. Think about the balance of power and what this actually means for the future of ecological conservation in India. Keep this framework handy. Ponder that question, and best of luck with your preparation. Thank you so much for studying with us today at Rungta IAS Academy.